Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the what's next on Isaac Cruz, the newly crowned WBA junior welterweight champion of the world at 140 pounds following his mild upset, I'd say, over Rolly Romero to capture the WBA title by 8th round TKO. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. Excuse me. So, Cruz, coming into this one, like I said, he was a lightweight making his debut at 140. And I think he really surprised a lot of people with this strong performance. He hurt Rolly early and just put the pressure on him and kept it up and stopped him in 8 rounds as he just kind of overwhelmed him. He really was... you know, like a pit bull, he was all over him. And, you know, it was a good performance. It was one he really needed because I think a lot of doubt had been cast upon him. And he really, you know, overdid himself. He really did. And that was a big win, the biggest of his career. And he becomes a world champion finally with that win. So now the big question is, what's next for Isaac Cruz following that victory? Well, obviously, the Gervonta Tank Davis rematch is always in the cards, and now that he has a title belt at 140, maybe he could welcome Tank up to 140 for the rematch. We'll see. But I definitely don't think or know if that fight happens next for Cruz, because he was talking about an August title defense. Tank is the champion at 135. And he's fighting in June, supposedly, against Frank Martin. But now that Cruz has become world champion, would he invite Cruz back down to 135 for the title fight, or would he move back up? Will the WBA, are they going to allow a current champion to move up and fight, you know, from a different weight class like many of the other governing bodies do? It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and see if Tank is a real possibility, because one thing's for sure is Tank has not formally, has not officially announced the Martin fight in June yet. So we'll see how that whole situation plays out. But running through the rest of the top 10 guys, you know, let's start with, you know, and again, in no particular order, I'm going with guys that are in the top 10 or around the top 10. You know, we look at Ryan Garcia, which would be a big fight. Now, if Ryan beats, if he beats Devin Haney in their showdown on April 20th, I think there's a strong chance Ryan would go to unified belts against somebody like Cruz. I think it's a fight that makes sense. I think it'd be an all-action fight. I think it would sell. And I think even Cruz's promoter would allow him to go over and fight on DAZN pay-per-view for a fight with Ryan Garcia. I really could see that. So we'll see how it plays out for Ryan on April 20th against Devin Haney. Personally, I think Ryan's going to lose, but I do think he's got a real shot of pulling it off. But if he loses, I don't think the fight's a possibility if Ryan loses. Then we look at, you know, somebody like Alberto Puello, former champion, undefeated. He's just not in the mix right now after being suspended last year, so I don't see that one. Then you got Devin Haney, the WBC champion. Now, Devin said the other day that he absolutely would fight Cruz if, you know, once he gets past Ryan. I do believe that Devin is going to try to unify belts after the Ryan Garcia fight. Not 100%, you know, but I do think he'll try to unify, and Cruz is a bigger name right now than Subriel Matias. You know, the only other champion that has a bigger name is Teofimo Lopez, and that fight might be tough to put together because Lopez is with Top Rank and ESPN. So right now, I do think Devin, if he beats Ryan Garcia, could absolutely take on Isaac Cruz in the second half of the year. So we'll see. Then there's WBO champion Teofimo Lopez. One that I just don't think the promoters will get together. I don't think Bob Arum and Al Heyman will work together for this fight to take place. Even though I'd love to see it, I don't think they will get together for this fight. Then you got Josh Taylor, the former champ. Now, he's fighting Jack Catterall in a rematch. If he beats Jack Catterall, would he cross the street and come over to PBC and fight the newly crowned champ Cruz? I don't think he wouldn't want to. It's just I really don't think Top Rank and ESPN would get together with Isaac Cruz and Al Heyman and PBC to make the fight. So I'm going to say no to that one. Then there's Jack Catterall. Now, he's with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. Now, would Eddie Hearn and Matchroom be open to this fight? I think they would, but I think they would get shot down by Cruz's people because I think, one, it's a bad matchup, and Catterall's not a huge name. And you know, Isaac Cruz can be offered and get probably bigger fights than Catterall. Then you got Jose Ramirez. He's with Golden Boy and DAZN. I don't think Golden Boy and DAZN work with work with Al Heyman and the PBC for this fight. Ramirez is a decent name. He's a former unified champ, but he's not a huge name to reach out and cross the street for. Then you got Sandor Martin. Well, he's a #1 ranked contender in the WBC. He can pretty much fight wherever he wants, but I don't believe Cruz and his people would entertain this fight. I think it's a bad matchup for Cruz, so I don't see that one. Then we look at Regis Prograis, the former champ. He's also at Matchroom and DAZN. Another one where I just don't think Al Heyman and the PBC would reach out to cross the street and work with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom for this fight. I don't think it's a big enough fight. Prograis coming off with a one-sided loss to Devin Haney, so I don't see that one. Then there's IBF champion Subriel Matias. Would love to see the fight to unify belts, but I just think they're going in separate directions in terms of unifying right now. I think they're trying to become attractive to the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez type deal, and wouldn't be necessarily interested in fighting each other. Not to say that they wouldn't, though. I do believe that there'd be interest, but Matchroom and Eddie Hearn working with the PBC and Al Heyman for this fight, one person would have to blink and allow the fight to take place on their turf. And right now, I think both promoters have too much stake in their fighter to cross the street and fight on another network. You know, of course, there's always the Saudi Arabia option, but right now, I don't think they would offer up a fight. Then you got Arnold Barbosa Jr., who's the WBO's #1 ranked contender. He's with Golden Boy and DAZN. Again, another one where I'd love to see the fight. I think it'd be all action, but I don't think it happens. Gary Antoine Russell, I just think, even though he has ties with the PBC, I don't think they're going to risk Cruz against a guy with Russell's, Russell's style. Because I think Russell's style is tailor-made to beat and whip Isaac Cruz. And right now, Russell's not a big enough name. I don't think Al Heyman and the PBC wants to do that before, like, a showdown with Cruz could happen. I mean, with a rematch with Tank could happen. And then other guys, O'Hara Davies is a no. He's coming off a loss. Richardson Hitchens is a no. It's a bad matchup. And Hitchens is in line for the Limos Paro winner. Kenneth Sims, highly ranked by the WBA, but I don't see this one happening. Ishmael Barroso. Now, this is the interesting one. He is Cruz's Cruz's mandatory challenger. He locked down that right with a dominant first-round knockout victory over O'Hara Davies back in January. He should be next in line, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. We'll see. A rematch with Rolly Romero is irrelevant. So, what do I think Isaac Cruz is going to do next? I really believe that they should enforce Cruz to fight Ishmael Barroso next. I think he's earned his right. He got robbed against Rolly Romero last year. They threw him into a mandatory title fight against what's his name? I'm drawing a blank now. Against O'Hara Davies, and he destroyed him. So I believe Ishmael Barroso should get the crack at Isaac Cruz in August. I think that's probably being contemplated, but I also think the PBC might have one up their sleeve to where they're going to try to bring in a lesser fighter to fight Cruz ahead of a potential Cruz and Tank Davis rematch. Now, I also think the Tank Davis rematch could be next for Isaac Cruz. I'm leaning towards the less likely, but I think it could be next because maybe Tank is okay waiting around an extra month or two to rematch with Cruz, and they could fight, you know, at 140 or 135. You know, one or the other. Maybe Tank will do what he did with Leo Santa Cruz and make the fight at, make the fight at 100, technically at 135, but it would be for both belts because they're underneath. That way Tank could go back and forth between the divisions like he did before. So, that one's an option. But, and I think Cruz will go for that kind of weight thing because he just moved up. So, we're going to see. I'm hoping that Cruz gets something good next. But it really, though, in reality, if he doesn't unify with either Devin Haney, the winner of Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, or unify with, or welcome up Tank, or they work out their rematch, then it should be Ishmael Barroso. There really shouldn't be anybody after unification with the winner of Devin or Ryan, or a rematch with Tank. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on newly crowned WBA junior welterweight champion at 140 pounds, Isaac Cruz, following that 8th round TKO victory over Rolly Romero on March 30th on the Showtime pay-per-view. Amazon Prime pay-per-view. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.